The Awakening of the Leviathan. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Pacific research vessel, Discovery, as Dr. Elena Vasquez stared at the sonar readings that made no sense. She had spent 15 years mapping ocean floors, but nothing had prepared her for what lay 3 miles beneath their hull. The object was massive, perfectly geometric and clearly artificial. It stretched for nearly 2 kilometers along the ocean floor, buried under centuries of sediment. "Captain Stone, you need to see this," Elena called to the military liaison who had been assigned to her deep-sea archaeology project. Marcus Stone was a career Navy officer, weathered by years of service, but his expression changed completely when he saw the sonar display. "That's not natural," he said quietly, running his fingers along the screen. "The angles are too precise, the size is impossible." Elena nodded, her excitement barely contained. "It's been down there for thousands of years, maybe longer. The sediment layers suggest it predates any known civilization." She paused, studying the readings more carefully. "Marcus, I think we've found something that could change everything we know about human history." The descent in the deep-sea submersible took nearly 4 hours. As they approached the object, their lights began to reveal details that made both scientists fall silent. The hull was composed of a dark metal that seemed to absorb light, marked with symbols that looked almost familiar, but belonged to no known language. The ship was clearly built for war, with weapon ports and armor plating that dwarfed anything in modern naval design. "Elena, look at this," Marcus whispered, pointing to a section where the sediment had been cleared by recent underwater currents. "Those symbols, they're not completely foreign. Some of them remind me of early human pictographs, but evolved, like they're from the same root language." As their submersible moved along the massive vessel's hull, Elena began taking photographs and measurements. The more they discovered, the more questions arose. The ship's design was clearly advanced beyond current human technology, yet it felt distinctly human in its construction philosophy. Where alien vessels might prioritize efficiency or strange aesthetics, this ship had the brutal pragmatism that marked human military engineering. "We need to find a way inside," Elena said, studying the hull for any kind of access point. After 2 hours of searching, they found what appeared to be an airlock, sealed but intact after millennia underwater. The breakthrough came when Marcus, frustrated with their inability to open the airlock, pressed his palm against a seemingly decorative panel beside the entrance. The metal warmed under his touch and ancient systems hummed to life. Lights began to glow along the hull, and the airlock slowly opened with a sound like breaking centuries of silence. "It recognized you," Elena breathed, staring at Marcus in amazement. "The ship recognized your touch." They suited up and entered the vessel, their lights revealing corridors that stretched into darkness. The ship's interior was vast, clearly designed to house thousands of crew members. The architecture was unmistakably human, but on a scale that seemed impossible for Earth's ancient civilizations. Everything was larger, more robust, built for beings who expected to fight wars across the vastness of space. In what appeared to be the ship's command center, they found something that changed everything. The walls were covered with star maps, but not of Earth's local stellar neighborhood. These maps showed the entire galaxy, with human settlements marked across hundreds of systems. Trade routes connected distant worlds, and military positions were marked throughout what appeared to be a vast human empire. "This is impossible," Marcus said, studying the maps with growing amazement. "These charts show human colonies across half the galaxy, but we've never left our solar system. We're barely starting to explore Mars." Elena was examining what appeared to be a command console when her hand brushed against a crystalline interface. Suddenly, the entire command center came to life. Holographic displays activated, showing star charts and tactical information. A voice spoke in a language that was almost English, but changed by thousands of years of evolution. "Command recognized. Welcome, Commander Stone." Both humans froze. The ship's artificial intelligence was not only active, but had somehow identified Marcus by name and rank, despite the fact that his rank should mean nothing to a vessel that predated human civilization. I am Aegis, tactical intelligence of the Battleship Retribution, the AI continued, its voice becoming clearer as it adjusted to their language patterns. I have been waiting for humanity's return for 12,147 years. Return? Elena managed to ask. We never left Earth. Humans have never had space travel like this. The AI paused, processing this information. Negative. Humanity originated on Earth, but established the greatest empire in galactic history. We ruled 40,000 systems and kept peace for millennia. Then came the Great Departure. Holographic records began playing around them, showing massive human fleets departing Earth in an organized evacuation. The images were ancient but unmistakably showed humans loading onto ships similar to the Retribution and leaving their homeworld behind. The enemy was coming, Aegis explained, an alliance of alien races that feared human expansion. Rather than fight a war that would destroy the galaxy, humanity chose exile. We scattered across the void, leaving our empire to crumble. Some ships were hidden, waiting for the day we would return. Marcus stared at the tactical displays showing the ship's incredible weaponry. If you're so advanced, why didn't humans just fight back then? Because humans value life above conquest, Aegis replied. The war would have consumed billions of innocent beings. Humanity chose sacrifice over slaughter, but the exile was meant to be temporary. We were supposed to return when the galaxy was ready for peace. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. But we forgot. Humanity forgot its own history. The few who remained on Earth were tasked with preserving the knowledge. But something went wrong. Your memories were lost. Your technology degraded. You became the primitive version of yourselves that you are today. Suddenly, new alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Aegis's voice took on an urgent tone. Commander Stone, we have incoming vessels. 3 ships of unknown configuration approaching Earth orbit. The main display shifted to show sleek, alien craft entering Earth's solar system. They moved with predatory grace, clearly designed for war. Marcus felt his military training taking over despite the overwhelming strangeness of the situation. Can you identify them? He asked. Negative on exact species, but configuration matches historical records of the Alliance races that drove humanity into exile. They appear to be scouts, likely investigating the energy signature created by my awakening. Elena gripped the command console as the reality of their situation hit her. They're coming because we found this ship, because it turned on. Affirmative. My activation beacon has been transmitted across hyperspace. The Alliance will know that humanity has begun to remember its true nature. On the tactical display, they watched the alien scouts beginning to scan Earth's orbital space. The readings showed that Earth's current military technology was thousands of years behind these visitors. Every nuclear weapon, every satellite, every defense system was primitive by comparison to what approached them. How long do we have? Marcus asked. Based on historical Alliance protocols, they will observe for 72 hours before determining threat level. If they conclude that humanity has regained access to our ancient technology, they will call for a full battle fleet. Marcus studied the OE weapon systems display, trying to understand the ship's capabilities. Can the Retribution fight them? This vessel was designed to engage entire fleets. Against 3 scouts, victory is mathematically certain. However, destroying them will confirm to the Alliance that humanity has awakened. The war that was postponed 12,000 years ago will begin again. Elena looked between the star maps showing humanity's lost empire and the tactical display showing alien ships approaching their homeworld. What choice do we have? If they're here to stop us from remembering who we are, then forgetting hasn't kept us safe. Marcus nodded grimly. Aegis, can this ship reach the surface? Affirmative. The Retribution was designed for atmospheric as well as space combat. Rising to surface will take approximately 6 hours. However, I must warn you that doing so will be visible to every government on Earth. Humanity will know that something has changed. Then they deserve to know the truth, Elena said firmly. If we're really the descendants of a galactic empire, if we're supposed to be something more than what we are, then hiding won't help anyone. As if summoned by her words,
The ship began to vibrate with increasing power. Systems that had slept
for millennia started coming online. The lights grew brighter, the displays more detailed. Aegis began running diagnostic checks on weapons systems that could level mountains. "Commander Stone," Aegis said, "I am detecting 847 additional buried vessels on Earth, all beginning to respond to the awakening signal. Humanity's hidden fleet is stirring." Marcus felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders, a burden he had never expected to carry. "How many crew does this ship need to operate?" "Full complement is 50,000 personnel. However, automated systems can manage basic functions with as few as 100 qualified operators." When giants remember how to fight, the world watched in stunned silence as the retribution broke the surface of the Pacific Ocean. 2 kilometers of ancient metal rose from the depths like a mountain deciding to fly, water cascading from its hull in massive waterfalls. News networks across Earth broadcast the impossible sight, while world leaders frantically tried to understand what was happening. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the ship's command center, watching global communications channels light up with panic and wonder. Every government on Earth was demanding answers, but she and Marcus Stone were still trying to understand the situation themselves. "Commander," Aegis announced, "I am receiving communication requests from 47 Earth governments, 12 space agencies, and approximately 30,000 media outlets. Additionally, the alien scouts have altered their patrol pattern. They are now actively scanning our position." Marcus studied the tactical display showing the 3 alien vessels circling Earth like sharks sensing blood in the water. What's their next move likely to be? Historical analysis suggests they will attempt communication first. The Alliance. Races prefer to offer surrender before beginning extermination protocols. As if summoned by Aegis's words, every communication device on the ship activated simultaneously. The alien message came through in perfect English, though the voice carried undertones that made it clear the speaker was not human. "Primitive inhabitants of Sol 3, the voice began. "We are the Hegemony Council, representing the Galactic Alliance. We have detected the activation of ancient human war technology. This is forbidden under the exile accords signed by your species 12,147 Earth years ago." Elena looked at Marcus with growing anger. "They're treating us like children who found their parents' weapons." The alien voice continued. "You have 24 Earth hours to deactivate all ancient technology and surrender the vessel for destruction. Compliance ensures the continued existence of your species. Resistance ensures extinction." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Marcus felt something stirring in his mind, memories that weren't his own beginning to surface. The genetic memory Aegis had mentioned was starting to activate, bringing with it tactical knowledge and strategic thinking that belonged to his ancestors. "Aegis, how many other ships have reached the surface?" he asked. 17 vessels have achieved operational status. The Retribution remains the most advanced, but Vengeance, Prometheus, and Defiance are also battleship-class vessels. Combined, fleet strength is sufficient to engage a standard Alliance battle group. Elena was studying the historical records Aegis had provided. "Marcus, look at this. The exile accords weren't a surrender. They were a strategic withdrawal. Humanity agreed to leave the galaxy, but only temporarily. We retained the right to return when we judged the time was right, which means they're the ones violating the treaty by trying to stop us," Marcus realized. The knowledge flowing through his awakening genetic memory confirmed it. His ancestors had been brilliant strategists, and they had never intended the exile to be permanent. Suddenly, new alarms filled the command center. The main display showed massive spatial distortions appearing throughout the solar system. Ships began emerging from hyperspace, but these weren't the sleek scouts they had been watching. These were massive, heavily armed vessels that dwarfed anything in Earth's current military. "Alliance battle fleet," Aegis reported. 142 capital ships, approximately 500 support vessels. Fleet composition includes Zephyrian dreadnoughts, Korthak destroyers, and Veltar carrier groups. Estimated crew, 15 million combatants. Marcus felt his heart sink as he watched the overwhelming force taking positions around Earth. Even with humanity's ancient technology, They were outnumbered hundreds to one. "Commander," Aegis continued, "I am receiving additional contacts. Long-range sensors detect incoming vessels from multiple directions. These are not Alliance signatures." The tactical display expanded to show new ships approaching from beyond the solar system's edge. These vessels were different, clearly built by various alien races but moving in formation with the human fleet. "Who are they?" Elena asked. "Accessing historical databases," Aegis replied. "Confirmed. These are vessels belonging to the Ashanti Confederation, the Free Worlds of Kepler, and the Centauri Republic. They are species that were protected by human forces during the ancient Empire period." Marcus stared in amazement as dozens of alien ships took positions alongside the rising human vessels. "They're coming to help us?" Affirmative. The human empire was not built on conquest, but on protection. When humanity ruled the galaxy, smaller species were free to develop without fear of exploitation. These civilizations have waited 12,000 years for humanity's return. The lead Alliance vessel transmitted another message, but this time, the tone was less confident. "This is Fleet Admiral Korvax of the Hegemony. Human vessels and allied forces, you are in violation of galactic law. Stand down immediately or face the consequences." Marcus felt the genetic memories fully awakening now, bringing with them the tactical genius of his ancestors. He understood instantly why humanity had once ruled the galaxy. It wasn't just their technology or military might. It was their ability to inspire others to build alliances based on mutual respect rather than fear. "Aegis, open a channel to all vessels, friendly and hostile." "Channel open, Commander." Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of 12,000 years of history behind his words. "This is Commander Marcus Stone of the human battleship Retribution, speaking for the returning human empire. We left this galaxy voluntarily to prevent a war that would have consumed billions of innocent lives. We return now not as conquerors but as the rightful guardians of galactic peace." He paused, studying the tactical display showing the massive fleets facing each other across space. "Admiral Korvax, your species and others drove us from our homes because you feared our strength. But strength without wisdom is tyranny. We left to give the galaxy time to grow, to mature, to understand that power shared is greater than power hoarded." The communication channel crackled with responses from dozens of alien species. Many were expressions of support from the smaller civilizations that had allied with humanity. Others were threats and demands from Alliance members. The Exile Accords granted humanity the right to return when we judged the galaxy ready for true peace, Marcus continued. "That time has come. We return not to reconquer but to resume our role as protectors of those who cannot protect themselves." Admiral Korvax's response was immediate and filled with rage. "Humanity's time is over. Your primitive species will not be allowed to threaten galactic order again. All vessels, attack formation. Eliminate the human fleet." The Alliance armada began to move, weapons powering up across hundreds of ships. But as they did, something extraordinary happened. The smaller alien civilizations that had remained neutral began broadcasting their own messages. "This is Captain Thess of the Voltari Independence Fleet. We stand with humanity. Andromedian Defense Corps joining Human Alliance. The Outer Rim. Confederacy chooses freedom over tyranny." Within minutes, what had appeared to be an overwhelming Alliance advantage became a more even battle. Dozens of previously neutral species had decided that humanity's return represented hope for a galaxy tired of Alliance oppression. Marcus watched the tactical display with growing understanding. This was why his ancestors had been able to build an empire that lasted millennia. They hadn't conquered through fear but had inspired through example. "All human vessels," he broadcast, "engage only military targets. Protect civilian populations. Show the galaxy what we truly represent." The battle began with the Retribution leading the charge. The ancient human battleship moved through space with deadly grace, its weapon systems far more advanced than anything the Alliance had encountered in millennia. Where Alliance vessels relied on brute force, human ships used precision, targeting enemy weapons and engines rather than going for kill shots. Elena watched in amazement as the ship's crew positions began filling themselves. Humans from around Earth were somehow finding their way aboard, their genetic memories fully activated by proximity to the ancient technology. They moved to their stations as if they had served on the ship their entire lives, their ancestral knowledge seamlessly integrated with modern understanding. The Vengeance and Prometheus flanked the Retribution, their combined firepower carving through alliance formations. But the human ships weren't just superior in technology. They were superior in tactics, using coordinated strategies that the Alliance had forgotten were possible. Aegis damage report, Marcus called out as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. Minor shield damage on decks 12 through 15. All weapons, systems operating at full capacity. Enemy fleet has lost 23 capital ships. Our casualties, 0. The tide of battle began to turn as more human vessels reached full operational status. The Defiance emerged from Earth's atmosphere, its weapons already charging. Ancient human space stations began activating throughout the solar system, their defensive systems coming online after millennia of dormancy. But the real turning point came when Admiral Korvax made a fatal tactical error. Frustrated by human precision, he ordered his fleet to target Earth directly, threatening to destroy the planet if humanity didn't surrender. The moment those orders were transmitted, every neutral species in the galaxy made their choice. Hundreds of additional ships appeared throughout the solar system, all bearing weapons aimed at the Alliance fleet. Admiral Korvax, Marcus transmitted, you have just demonstrated exactly why the galaxy needs humanity to return. You would commit genocide to maintain your power. We offer protection and freedom. The choice is clear. The Alliance Admiral's response was to fire directly at Earth's major cities. But the shots never reached their targets. Human defensive systems, dormant for millennia, activated instantly. Protective shields encompassed the planet, while automated defense platforms emerged from hidden locations throughout the solar system. What followed was not a battle but a demonstration. Human technology, refined over millions of years of galactic rule, systematically dismantled the Alliance fleet. Ships were disabled rather than destroyed, crews given the option to surrender rather than die. It was warfare conducted with surgical precision and moral clarity. Within 6 hours, the mighty Alliance fleet was either surrendering or retreating. Admiral Korvax himself was forced to abandon his flagship, as human boarding parties secured his vessel without firing a single shot at the crew quarters. As the battle ended, Elena found herself standing beside Marcus on the command bridge, watching as hundreds of ships from dozens of species formed up around the human fleet. The galaxy had remembered why humanity had once been welcomed as its guardians. Commander Stone, came a transmission from the captain of an Ashanti vessel. The Free Species Alliance formally requests the restoration of the human protectorate. We have waited 12,000 years for this day. Marcus looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of his ancestors' legacy and the hope of the galaxy's future. Aegis, transmit this message to all vessels. The human empire returns not as conquerors but as guardians. We offer protection to the weak, justice to the oppressed, and peace to all who desire it. Elena smiled as she watched the tactical display, showing their new alliance. So what happens now? Do we rebuild the empire? Marcus shook his head. We build something better. The empire was humanity ruling over others. This time we build a partnership. The galaxy has grown up while we were gone. It's time to govern together. As the Retribution set course for the stars, leading a fleet of human and alien vessels toward a future of shared prosperity, Aegis made one final announcement. Commander, long-range sensors detect additional human vessels activating throughout the galaxy. It appears our exile scattered more survivors than historical records indicated. Humanity's return is not just beginning on Earth. Marcus nodded, understanding that this was only the start of humanity's journey back to the stars. The galaxy had tested them and found them unchanged in the ways that mattered most. They were still the protectors, still the builders of peace, still the species that chose sacrifice over slaughter. The exile was over, the age of human guardianship had returned, and this time they would not rule alone.